If you're a health practitioner that's enrolling patients into care through discovery calls, then you're probably all too familiar with a situation where you have a prospect in a discovery call, you've done your best, you brought your A game, and at the end of the call, the patient or the prospect says, hey, I'm not entirely sure. Let me talk this over with my spouse and I'll get back to you, right? And you kind of deflated and you miss the opportunity to really help the person address the health issues. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about how to effectively overcome objections from your patients so that this situation doesn't happen, that you actually see an increased rate of enrolling people in discovery calls into care so that you can actually help them address their health concerns. Now, there is typically three big objections that any prospects has in any situation. So we'll get to them in a second. But the key thing that I want you to realize is that it's not the time in the discovery call to address these objections head on. Because what happens is that in that situation, you have only a limited amount of time. It will really take the prospect some time to process how you address that objection. So my advice is really that the success of the discovery call is really set before people even get into the discovery call, right? How do you address objections in the context of your social media or your website, or once they opt in for your lead magnets, what do you say in the thank you video, or what's happening in the nurture sequence? What happens in your webinar? So objections should not be left to be addressed in the discovery call. You really got to take these sorts off the table before people even get into that one-on-one situation, so that the only people that are showing up in your discovery calls are the ones that are pre-educated and predetermined to partner with you. They're primed to see you as the expert, and they really are chomping at the bit to work with you, to get to work with you on their health resolution. That's number one. The point to address objection is not in the discovery call, even though what we're going to talk about now is ways you can address it in a discovery call. But the take-home message is really make your life easier. Address these objections once and for all on your website before even people get to you in any video content, etc. And so this is where it's also so powerful to have a practice introduction video that when people sign up for a discovery call, you should send them a video saying, hey, this is how we work in our practice. And so you can address objections there. If you want to learn more about how these pre-discovery call videos work, simply click a link below this video. We have a bunch of resources there on how to establish preeminence, how to really master the discovery call. And, this is really, really helpful to help you address objections. So the first big objection is typically around money. And what that really means is that your prospects don't see the value in exchanging their money for the services or the help that you render, right? And so this is, again, something where you have to really educate prospects why investing with you is a smart investment, that the money that they give you is very minimal compared to what they're getting out there. And just to give you an example, if you are a perimenopausal woman struggling with hormonal issues, and you could know for certain that this doctor could really address this, give your energy back, give you 3 hours of extra time each and every day, lets you feel vibrant and a true state of well-being, what would that be worth it relative to the maybe $2,000 or $3,000 out of pocket that you invest, right? So this is not something that's very easy to get across in the context of a 15-minute discovery call. So hence, make sure you're addressing this beforehand. But there's two ways to say this. If somebody says, hey, this sounds really expensive, you can say, hey, it may sound expensive, but here's what I want you to consider. What is it worth to actually not have to have this issue for the next 20 years? What would it mean to actually get to live your next 20 years much healthier and not have this problem? If you divide $4,000 by 20 years, that's about $200 a year. So is it worth $200 a year to address this issue now and really get to enjoy the next 20 years, right? And if financing is an issue, we have payment plans. We also work with advanced care or some other things where you can sign up for a low-cost credit card to finance this. So this is one thing. But you have to really establish the relative value, see this in a different context. Yes, it's not covered by insurance, but what is it worth for you to resolve the issue once and for all and not just have to manage the problem? You could say, yes, $2,000 may sound expensive, but if you're thinking about having to stay on injection biologics for the rest of your life, $84,000 a year with a copay that is probably $2,000, $3,000, you very easily pay this each and every year with a traditional approach to the problem. And so in wrapping up this part here, what really happens is, something is either valuable or it's expensive, but it's never both, right? So your job in your practice marketing is to shift that perception it's expensive to it's valuable. And something is valuable if the person that is dealing with this, if it's relevant to them, right? If you verbalize it in a way that's relevant to them, then it makes sense. So if you find it hard that a lot of people are questioning your price, they don't see the value, I would encourage you to really think about how do you position your services, how do you establish that it's valuable, that it's giving them a lot of return of investment on their money. Now, the second big objection is typically, I don't have time, or it's something around time and being strapped for time. And they feel like, putting the money down, they're not getting the return on their investment because they don't have time to dedicate it to you. So one of the ways you can address this is saying, thinking about what would make your programs more convenient. You're saying, hey, we totally understand this. People are busier than ever. That's why we have an online training program that goes along with your one-on-one appointments. So that way we don't have to cram all the information into an appointment, but you can watch it ahead of time. You can watch it multiple times at a time when it's most convenient for you, maybe on the weekend or at night. And that way we can make the most out of our time. You can also say, I have evening and weekend appointments. Plus, we are offering telemedicine services, so you don't have to drive to our office, spend time in traffic, sit in the waiting room, but instead you can just show up at the appointed time in my Zoom conference room. We have a chat for 30 minutes. And this is probably the most efficient way for you to get the care and get the answers that you're looking for. So that's how I would answer that question. Now, the third type of objection is usually the patient or the prospect questioning whether they're capable to do the work to achieve the results. So will this work for me? And there's a number of ways you can address this. One of them is obviously through social proof, case studies, testimonials in your social media feed, on your website, maybe even in the emails. When they're signing up for a discovery call, you should probably have testimonials in that email, right? And if you get even more sophisticated, then have retargeting ads that when they're signing up for a discovery call, they could get ads with video testimonials from your patients. So again, as I said in the beginning, the time to address those objections is not in the actual discovery call, but beforehand, so that they go into the session with an open mind that this is not even an objection for them. And so, a couple of ways how you can answer the question when it comes up directly in a discovery call is like, will this work for me? And you can say, hey, honestly, I don't know if this will work for you, but it has worked for patients that are very similar than you. So this is why we encourage you to set up an initial case review where our clinician can review your entire backstory from childhood on. We can see what lab tests and blood tests you've run in the past. We can review all these things and then put the pieces of the puzzle together and give you an honest assessment whether we can help you, and if so, what this will look like going forward. And as part of that discussion, you can also say, our practice, we are only focusing on this type of care, cardiometabolic cases. And so we are expert at this. And that's why it's so important for us to ensure that only the right patients that are a good fit for our programs are actually enrolling, so that everyone gets the results that they're looking for. Now, the last thing that you probably should integrate into your response is that they may have seen 5 to 6 other practitioners with no results. And so that's why they're so skeptical whether hiring you as their 7th clinician will make a difference. So again, what you have to point out is how you approach their case differently from what they have done before. And part of this is really listening and asking questions up front. What have they tried already? What lab testing have they done? So that you can connect the dots why this probably didn't work. And so this is then one of the ways how you can answer the question. Well, one of the reasons why we can help a lot of patients is because unlike other practitioners, we do X, Y, Z, right? So point out how you're different. And then again, also say, we recognize that health is not just established in the doctor appointment. So this is why we have a health coach that will check in with you, that's working with you on an ongoing basis. That's why I remain available between appointments so you can ask questions. This may be a great opportunity to say, this is why all our patients are downloading our Practice Better app so that they have access to a portal with a lot of resources that's supporting them on their journey, right? So these are all things that you can say to address the point, will this work for me? Case studies. We've helped people similar to you. We have a lot of support options, both digital and in person and with our team, and we remain available. And again, all of these should help address the objection in a powerful way that people understand, okay, this makes sense. So I hope this was helpful for giving you a framework for how to think about overcoming objections. There's a bunch of resources below this video that talk about how to properly nurture prospects, how to create preeminence, how to do all the things so that these objections don't even come up in the discovery call. And lastly, I say it again, when you have a practice introduction video, this is a place where you really very authoritatively answer these things so that when people show up in a discovery call, these objections don't even come up. And people are ready to move forward with you so that you can get to help more people. All right, so I hope this video was helpful. Be sure to check out the resources below this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit the notification button to be notified every time a new video goes live. And we'll love to hear from you. So chime in the comments if this was helpful, what other contents you want to hear from our team at Big Boost Marketing, and we'll see you next time.